We interviewed William Mall for a veteran project.
William Mall served in the U.S. Air Force during the Vietnam War and also fought alongside SEAL Team 6 during the invasion of Grenada.
It's a necessary thing.
Mr. Mall grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and ever since he was little, he wanted to fly airplanes.
Ever since I knew what flying was all about, that was my ambition in life, to fly in the military. And I took a long road to that, but it wasn't easy, but that's my life ambition, and I accomplished that. So I felt very happy about that.
He earned a bachelor's degree in business administration from University of Pittsburgh in 1954. Later in 1966, he attended George Washington University and earned a master's degree in business administration. Major General Mall was a graduate of the JFK School at Harvard University Senior Managers in Government program. Preparation for the Air Force consisted of both physical and mental training.
Yeah, in pilot training, it was to tell you how they do that. When you're in pilot training, first half a day is, first thing you do is PT, physical training. 6 o'clock in the morning, you're out there doing your push-ups, chin, all this stuff. Then you go to academics until noon. After lunch, you go and fly for 4 hours with an instructor. You have a table like this, 3 instructors, 1 instructor to 3 students, and we would go each in turn fly with the instructor. And then, so that made a full day. And then the next week you'd do the academics in the morning and fly in the afternoon. You'd reverse that, so that was very intense. But when you transition into airplanes, like when I went to fly the B-47, then they have separate training schools for that teach you how to fly that particular airplane. And then you upgrade from the various crew positions from co-pilot to pilot. It's a gradual transition into the higher responsibilities.
After graduation from pilot training at Greenville Air Force Base in Mississippi, his first assignment was to the 310th Bomb Wing. Following his first assignment, he was assigned to the 436th Military Airlift Wing. He flew the C-141 jet cargo plane. In 1983, he became the first commander of the 23rd Air Force, and later that year, he commanded the Air Force Special Forces during the invasion of Grenada.
I'd go back in a heartbeat. It was the best thing that ever happened to me. I had a good time. I couldn't believe they're paying me to do that. It was hard, it was difficult, and it was, there were, a lot of setbacks. It was tough on the family, but I enjoyed it thoroughly. It was everything I had hoped for. It was, when I signed up, I read this brochure, it said adventure, science, and travel. And that appealed to me, all 3 of those. I did not want to spend 40 years in a cubicle.
Mall flew the B-47 bomber when he was in combat. Along with a B-47 bomber, Mr. Mall also flew the HC-130 in battle. Mr. Mall flew the C-141 during the Battle of Grenada over the Caribbean island nation. During this flight, his plan was to drop the Navy SEALs off of the plane so they could parachute down to the island, but because the weather was horrible, they had to take a different approach.
The requirements to join the Air Force greatly narrowed down the pack of people that could apply.
20/20 vision uncorrected, that was the toughest part for most people. That eliminated 2/3 of our class right there. And excellent physical condition and a 4-year college degree, and then you could apply for pilot training. And depending on the needs of the Air Force, there are 2 tracks to pilot training, fighter and bomber. I think that's still the same today. And I got the fighter track and I ended up in bombers. So that's the way things go. Learned about taking care of people. If you take care of them, they'll take care of you. It was very important to have a good relationship. The Air Force is different from all the other services in a lot of ways. And I just learned the importance of the people that do all the support work. I think one guy flying, there's 15 people doing other things to keep you there. And I learned to appreciate that.
This is the plane that Mr. Mall flew during his favorite moment in the service.
Matter of fact, I did. I was thinking about that the other day. The B-47, the bomber, you know, the 6-engine bomber. When I first started flying it, all the pilots were World War II pilots. They were guys that had flown in Korea in World War II. And our whole unit, all the pilots were major, lieutenant colonel, first lieutenant. You know, we're brand new in the Air Force. And at that time, they were expanding, and Strategic Air Command was just starting out, but we were eventually going to get 2,000 B-47s. So there was a need for younger blood coming in, and I got to be the first wave of that. And so I was flying with these guys from World War II who were my heroes, you know, who flew B-17s over Berlin and all that stuff. And here I was in grade school at the time, you know. So they kind of took us under their wing and gave us a good time. We used to fly to England and pull alert over there. We would be on alert in England, Spain, North Africa, Turkey. That was part of the Cold War. We surrounded Russia with these B-47 bombers on alert. B-52s would do airborne alert. They would get on the racetrack up there. And so one time we were flying back from England after a rotation, three bombers, and two lieutenant colonels flying the first two, and I was flying the third one in a number 3 slot for the rookie. And we landed at Goose Bay, Labrador, and refueled because our tankers didn't show up. The weather had precluded. We usually got air refueling go nonstop. Our base was in Kansas. So we refueled, and one of the old boys said, "Why don't you give it to the rookie, let him be the lead back home, you know, the V formation, we flew in formation." That's a big honor for a kid, you know. So I'm flying over Pittsburgh, my hometown, and I call in for the, now listen, think about this time, everybody in commercial airlines flying at 20,000 feet, you know, at 200-mile-an-hour propeller airplanes, and jets were new. And we were kind of rock stars, and I'm flying along up here, and I look back in my mirror, and there's contrails. You know, the white billowy contrails, 3 of them, they're just beautiful. And I called Pittsburgh radio and I said, and they said, "Oh, B-47s, you know, nobody was flying up at that altitude, 35,000 feet. I said, "Yeah, take a look out your window, you can see we're pulling contrails." And, "Oh, that's great, yeah, wow." So he says, and I got to talking to him, and I said, "Yeah, I'm from Pittsburgh," and he said, what's your phone number, your dad's phone number, I'll call him." So he calls him up, you know, and this is before cell phones. And my dad runs out in the yard with the neighbors, you know, and there's my boy up there, you know, and he could see it. He flew right over Pittsburgh, so that was my favorite moment.
Over the years, Mr. Mall accumulated over 8,000 flying hours in 43 different aircrafts, including 4 different helicopters, from Huey to Black Hawk.
My biggest fear in combat was hurting the friendlies or making a mistake that would cost other people's friendly lives. That was that overrode everything with me, you know. There were some terse moments there, but a lot of times my biggest concern was, where are the friendlies, where are the enemy, you know, and hurting some innocents or something was paramount with me, and that kind of overrode me every time I went into a situation. So.
During the Vietnam War, he flew 156 combat missions and more than 900 combat hours in 3 different types of aircrafts.
Recognized, you know, if you excelled in what you were doing, that was kind of an acknowledgement that you were pretty good at what you were doing, and that gave me a lot of satisfaction, you know, to get promoted. There were 5,900 colonels eligible for promotion to brigadier general. 50 made it. 5,950 made it. I mean, that's a pretty good cut. That's like getting hit by lightning, you know. So I felt very fortunate. So that way, that was a recognition, the promotions, you know. We didn't have bonuses.
Mr. Mall's military decorations and awards include the Distinguished Service Medal,
Legion of Merit with Oak Leaf Cluster,
the Bronze Star Medal, Meritorious Service Medal with Oak Leaf Clusters,
Air Medal with Oak Leaf Cluster,
the Joint Service Commendation Medal, Air Force Commendation Medal with 2 Oak Leaf Clusters,
The Air Force Outstanding Unit Award ribbon with 2 oak leaf clusters,
Combat Readiness Medal,
the National Defense Service Medal,
the Vietnam Service Medal with 4 service stars,
Humanitarian Service Medal.
and finally the Republic of Vietnam Gallantry Cross with Palm. After his service, Mr. Mall and his wife moved to Los Angeles. After he moved out to Los Angeles, he opened his own business in Terminal 2 at LAX.